Alright, some people are having a bit of trouble with the formatting of APA documents, not because you don't understand how they're supposed to look, but because you don't understand how Microsoft Word actually works. So I want to show you some tricks of the trade for Word today that will help you with your APA formatting. First, let's start with the title page. And for the title page, you are simply going to type the title, and what I'm going to be working on today is someone's reading reflection from my course, the second one that they've submitted. I've gone through and made some additional errors in their document so that we can highlight how to fix some of those things. But for the title page, we need the title of the paper that's being written, in this case Reading Reflection 2. We need the author, and I'll put my name even though this isn't my document. It's actually compliments of Denise. Thank you, Denise, for allowing me to use your work. And then we put the affiliation. In APA papers, you do not list the course that you're taking. You do not list any, the date or anything like that as part of the title on the cover page. Later in the semester, I might introduce you to author's notes, which go on the bottom half of the page, but this information goes on the top half of the page. It is centered, so you notice I can highlight all of that by clicking and dragging, and then up here in my toolbar, I can format it as centered. Now, I don't know if you have the kind of editor's eye that I've developed over the past few years, but this is double-spaced, yet it is not properly double-spaced. Often Word will automatically set up a style that adds spaces before or after a paragraph. Now, to fix that, highlight the paragraphs, go up into the paragraph area of the toolbar, click on that to open it, and there's a lot of information here, but what we want to focus on is the spacing. So it's about halfway down there, and you can see there's before spacing and after spacing. Here's the culprit right here, 10 points. That should say 0 points. You notice that the spacing is set at double, which is proper. It was just that spacing after each paragraph that was causing us problems. Now we change that, and now we've got something that's double spaced. Now, while this information is supposed to be on the top half of the page, we don't want it right at the top, because at the top we're going to have the running head. So I've just moved that down a few spaces, and now I'm going to create the running head. The running head is a header. In Word, you can have headers and footers, and we're going to create a header by double-clicking in the very top section of this page. So I've double-clicked and I've opened up a header, and you can see you've got the little header there. And what does a running head look like? It says running head in typical title format, upper and lowercase there, and then all caps you type your running head. The running head can be your exact title if your title is short, or it can just be a shortened version of your title. It's usually never more than 5 words. 3 or 4 are more common. So we now have the running head designated on the title page, the cover page. Now, the problem that you're going to find in Word is that when you now go down to the second page, we have an incorrect running head here. It's the same thing that we saw on the previous page. Beginning on page 2, we're not supposed to have these words running head. We're just supposed to have the actual running head itself, which in this case is Reading Reflection 2. So how do we fix that? We have to insert what's called a section break. So we get to the end of what we are going to be presenting on page 1, which is our title page, our cover page. And now we go to the tab up at the top of Word that says Page Layout, and I click on that. And then if you've got a large-sized screen, I've got my screen kind of scrunched down so that you can see things a little better. But this icon right here are page and section breaks. If your screen is spread out a little bit bigger, it will actually say breaks. So I click on that, and you'll see that there are several kinds of breaks. We don't want a page break because we need a section break. We want the sections to be separated. We want that cover page to be one section of the document and the rest of the document to be its own section. So I'm going to insert a section break that automatically moves you to the next page. So we've inserted that. Now what does that do for us? We've still got our first page like it was. Let me change this to a one-page view so you can see it. This is our first page, just as before. And then as we look down at the second page, you can see it forced a new page. There's nothing there, but it is a new section. So let's zoom this in a bit. Now what we can do in this new section, you can see there, page 1. What we can do in this new section is change the header. So you'll see on the left side it says Header Section 2, and on the right side of the page it says Same as Previous. We do not want this to be the same as previous. So to change that, we go up here into the toolbar, and this little yellow highlighted area says Link to Previous. This is automatic in Word. They automatically think you want the same header running throughout your document. So anytime you create a section break and create a new section, Word will automatically connect the headers and the footers from the previous section to the new section. So what you have to do is come up into this toolbar area and click on that so that it is no longer connected to previous. And you can see on the right hand side that little sign, a little label that said Same as Previous, disappeared. What that allows us to do now is to delete that little introductory title, Running Head, and now we simply have the actual running head. Now in this document, the page numbers are wrong. You'll see they're here on this footer. So let's delete those page numbers. Now another thing we need as part of the header in an APA document, beginning with the first page, is a page number. So I've gone back to the first page where we set up the running head. I'm going to click into the header there, and what we need to do is position the page number on the far right side of the margin. If you'll notice, there's a centered margin here automatically, centered tab in the Word document, and there is a right tab on the far edge of the margin. So if we push the tab bar once, it goes to the center position. We push the tab bar second time, and now the cursor is over here on the far right side, and that's where we want the number for the page to be. Now to insert that, we come up over here to the left side of the toolbar, and you'll see this page number icon, and so this is where we can insert the page number, and we want it at the current position, and we just want a simple plain number. So there we have the plain number. So we can close that header, and now we're looking at the title page, the cover page, page 1. Let's scroll down and look at what it looks like on the second page. No page number. The reason is that, remember, we did not link these two headers together because we needed a different header in section 2. So now we need to do the same thing on the second page, beginning at the beginning of section 2 header. So I hit the tab once, it takes me to the center position with that cursor. I hit the tab again, and now my cursor is on the far right side at that tab. I go back up to the left here to page number, click on that, choose insert page number at the current position with a plain number. And now I have my headers set up. So on the first page, I introduce the running head. I have my title, the author, the affiliation of the author. Then beginning on the second page, I have the actual running head itself and the page numbers beginning. Now, if you have started from scratch and you are just beginning to write, then you just begin typing here on the first line here on the page. Sometimes, however, we forget to put the running head and we go in and add that later, which is what I've done here. And so I have down below me on this other page, I have the reading report that I borrowed from Denise. And what I need to do now is to get that moved up into this section. Now remember, at the end of my title, I inserted a section break to go to the next page. So there are no lines that exist physically below this by hitting enter. If I push the down arrow key, I automatically go to the next page. That is the next thing that's there. And now if I want my words from the following page to come up to this page, I just hit delete, and now everything is here. Alright, well, one of the first things that I notice here that's a problem is that the font size is too big. It's Georgia font 16. Georgia is kind of like Times New Roman. The APA standard is to use Times New Roman. Let me show you how we can change that. We just hold down the Control button and touch the key A. Control A, that is A for all, if you want to remember that hotkey. Now I've selected all of the text in the entire document. And now what I need to do is change that to Times New Roman. So I go up to the font selector and I choose Times New Roman, and now everything is Times New Roman. However, I still do have mixed sizes, so I need to change this now to 12-point font. You can do 11 if you want, 11-point font or 12-point font. That's just a personal choice up to you. Alright, you can also use Arial. Arial is sans serif, which means it doesn't have the little curly cues on the ends of the letters. Now, let's look at the next thing. The title that I have here doesn't connect with the running head that I've selected. So I need to either change my title or I need to change my running head, one or the other. I'm going to just change the title and call it Reading Reflection 2. Now, early in the semester, I gave some of you incorrect information. Titles of papers and articles are not bold-faced. It's only the headings within the article itself that get bold or italicized. The title of the article is plain font, as well as the reference list title, where you say references. That's plain font. Now, if you'll notice, we again have too large of a space after this paragraph. You can see everything's double spaced nicely until we get to the last line, and then we have this extra space that's been added. And if we scroll down through here, you'll see that happens at the end of each paragraph. At the end of each paragraph. So what I want to do, and even below the references word there you can see. Oh, I just told you that we don't make that bold, so let's change that to regular font. Now let's change all of these paragraphs so they don't have the extra space. And you may be saying, but wait, those weren't all paragraphs. Some of those were reference lists. In Word, and when you do word processing, a paragraph is whenever you hit the Enter key. Some of you may have been trained years ago in typing, in which case you type till you get the end of the line, and then you manually return to the other end of the line. So if you had an electric typewriter, you would hit return or something like that. We do not do that in word processing. It messes the formatting up very badly, as I'll show you in just a minute when we work on the reference list. So now, if you remember from what I did on the cover page, we now go up to the paragraph section of the home toolbar. We open that up, and we want to choose double spacing with 0 spaces after, 0 point space added after. And now we've got simple double spacing. Now, let's look at the reference list, because this is where I want to show you how thinking like a typist will get you into trouble. Most of you know that reference lists are supposed to be what are called hanging. The indenting is supposed to be done in a hanging style, which means the first line is all the way to the left, but then the lines underneath it are ½ inch indented. Now let me show you what the problem is here with this reference list. I'm going to just touch on the paragraph icon up here, which is show or hide, and it's going to put a little paragraph indicator wherever there is a paragraph. That is, wherever the typist pushed the enter key. And so you can see here that we have a paragraph at the end of the first line. We have an extra space to try to make it look double spaced, and see, now I've changed it to double space, but then that just makes it quadro spaced there. And you can see between each line of the entry there is a hard return. Now the problem with that is that anytime you change the font size or you move to a new printer, these kinds of hard formatted reference lists are going to mess up. What you have to do is get rid of all of those paragraphs. So I'm just going to go through and delete all of those paragraphs. The only time I want a paragraph is when I'm finished with the entry. So here I get to the end of the entry, so that's good. But now I want to get rid of all these other paragraphs. I'm not sure what that is. There we go. Oh, that's just spaces. It shows that. But you say, there's a problem now. Let me turn off the paragraph symbols now, so it just makes it a little clearer. But you can say, oh, there's a problem because now it's not hanging indented. Well, you remember how we fixed the spacing problem with the paragraphs? That's also how we get the paragraphs formatted properly. So we go back up to the paragraph tool dialog box. And then here, where it shows you the indentation, we choose special. And you can see we can choose to have the first line indented, or we can choose hanging. And a nice thing about Word is that if you choose hanging, it automatically chooses ½ inch, although you can change that by using the up and down arrows. Now let's select OK. And now we have hanging indents for those. Now you'll notice this part, this reference here, is split because of the hard indent that was done before, and so the link won't even go to the correct place. So we would have to change this, remove this link. You can just do that by right-clicking and saying remove hyperlink, and then put a space at the end, and now we've got it there. However, let me just highlight one thing. This is citing as a source of a document our course website. You don't want to do that because you are one of the few people who has access to our course website. We want to actually cite the original source for this because we want people to be able to find it. And if you'll look closely in that public statement on cultural competence from the AEA, they have a suggested citation, which is this one, retrieved from. And again, you can see here we've got the first letters capitalized for some of these things. That's not APA format, so we need to fix that. Again, here with Fitzpatrick and so on. And also, you'll notice here there's no subtitle, so let's add the subtitle there. There we go. Now that's looking a little bit better. And to show you how stable this is, let's change the font size just so you can see. Anytime I change the font size, it gets bigger and bigger, but it remains one coherent paragraph that is formatted for hanging indent. So that's how you need to format your reference list. If you can master these few skills and some others that I'll be sharing with you throughout the rest of the semester, you can save yourselves hundreds of dollars in your graduate programs by not having to pay someone to type your papers, particularly if you're doing a thesis or a dissertation. The costs can run into the hundreds or even up into the thousands of dollars to hire somebody to format for you.